The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia does a sit-down interview with 60 Minutes. I don't like what I saw. Also, the Mueller investigation against President Trump continues to come under fire. When will someone fire Mueller? I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. We have a lot to talk with you about today. I hope that you will be able to stay with me for the entire program. The attack on President Trump, the unceasing attacks on President Trump from left-wing media and the voices that they put up, it's simply not going to go away. That I'm convinced of that. Mueller's investigation has turned up no collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia. None. Now, there's a reason why they haven't been able to turn anything up. It's because it doesn't exist. It's not there. But the reason they keep going is to have a discrediting of the presidency on the installment plan. Gives them a headline to keep talking about. And it's bleeding the president. It's bleeding his presidency. And it's enraging. It's war by another means. And this is something, let me step back and talk to you for a second about war and the speed of war. One of the reasons that the American Revolution could not take place today, if we had some of the same factors happening today, one of the reasons that the revolution could not take place today is because of, ready, the speed of travel and the speed of communications and the ability to intercept communications. Those three elements, given the fact, let's just assume that airplanes were never used by the British. It was simply gun versus gun, cannon versus cannon, and it happened today. Well, the colonists were greatly outnumbered. So the speed of travel, the ability to move a large army quickly. When George Washington was crossing the Delaware, when the Brits figured out what had gone wrong, they would have killed him when they got to the other side, if it had been happening today. And the ability to communicate on both sides has made communication literally instantaneous, and the ability to intercept communications. So there's a growing number of people that are deeply frustrated with this government. In a poll of just a few years ago, suggested that a lot of people, a significant minority, believe that a revolution is going to be required to restore the constitutional rights of the citizenry. I think it's almost futile to even consider it because of the speed of travel and the speed of communications and the ability to intercept communications. The government has the ability to spy on everyone. So set that aside. Now go to communications in general. When you consider Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, not to mention cell phones and email, okay? And 24-hour news coverage on a whole bunch of cable stations. The ability to deluge people with a false narrative has never existed like this before. Back in the day, in the 1800s, even in the 1700s, you had newspapers. People were printing newspapers. And you had newspapers that were for the colonists, and you had newspapers that were for the crown. In the 1800s, you had newspapers that were clearly for the Free Soil Party, which became the Republicans, and you had newspapers that were clearly for the Democrats, right? The pro-slavery party, the Democrats. But the division no longer exists. It was often kind of an equal playing field. Most major media, whether it's newspaper, online, broadcasting, most major communications of news are in the hands of a radical left-wing elite who are hell-bent on making this republic republic and keeping this republic a reflection of their godless image. Baby killing, sex with anybody, anytime, anywhere, transgender. It's endless, the evil that they want to promote. You've got Fox News out here. You have Rush, Sean, Mark Levin, Michael Savage. You've got a handful of radio broadcasters and Fox Cable News. But after that, name me one major newspaper that is even remotely conservative, pro-life, wants to stand for marriages between a man and a woman. Name me one newspaper. Doesn't exist. Look at the cable news. Look at the three major networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. So the ability for the evildoers to continually pour out propaganda and to create this narrative in which President Trump is a villain, they're overwhelming us, people. We got a reprieve with the election of President Trump. But the evildoers of our hour are hell-bent on taking that reprieve away and bringing us back to the gallows. I'll be right back. Don't go away. Today, many so-called Christian intellectuals believe that the God of evolution used billions of years of death and destruction to evolve the bodies of the first human beings. Then, they simply declare the theory of evolution as fact to justify their unproven scientific fallacies. By the grace of God, more and more Catholics are rejecting this modern-day mythology in favor of the traditional doctrine of creation, as recorded by the Bible, and believed and taught by all the fathers and doctors of the Church. To find out how sound theology and natural science confirm the sacred history of Genesis, visit the Colby Center for the Study of Creation, and be sure to check out our bookstore, which has titles like I Have Spoken to You from Heaven, A Catholic Defense of Creation in 6 Days, and A Catholic Assessment of Evolutionary Theory. That's the Colby Center for the Study of Creation. Welcome back, friend. One of the millennials on our team pointed out to me during the break, hey, no, you've got Alex Jones and the Daily Wire. And I said, no, those aren't newspapers. I actually mean newspapers where you can pick it up and get ink on your fingers. Now, that discussion off the air showed my age and his age. And the fact that so many people get their news online now, the troubling thing is this, that Google and Facebook, all right, the two major propagators, Google owns YouTube, the two major propagators of a godless narrative, they're in the hands of people that really hate righteousness. My Facebook account was canceled because we were advertising what would Muhammad do. This is a scholastic work of art, okay? And my Facebook was canceled because I dared to say the truth about Muhammad. My name if you put in the name Randall in Google, up until very recently, the first thing to pop up was Terry. That's how much I have been in the news. You put in Randall, and the first thing that came up was Terry, and then the next one was Tex Cobb or something. I don't know if he's a baseball player. He's famous for some reason. Now, you put in Randall, my name doesn't come up. You put in T, doesn't come up. They have literally changed their algorithm to hide me. I've seen my press releases come down in real time. I've watched where they pop up on websites, in search engines, and then they just disappear. So I'm thankful for the internet. I'm thankful for LiveWire. I'm thankful for Alex Jones, but we're still outgunned. And the people that are the gatekeepers of the internet are doing everything they can to silence Alex Jones. They're doing everything they can to silence people like me. I don't know where this is going to end, folks. I don't know where it's going to end. But we're in a heap of trouble. We're in a world of trouble. Oh, I've got to go on this aside. Let me go on this aside for you. This is just a word of warning to parents and to grandparents. the highlights, the lowlights are that a study recently came out showing the teenage suicide rate skyrocketing, and it's in direct proportion to the access that these kids have to Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook. I'm just telling you, okay? And there's this growing movement out there, our family included, of parents, grandparents who are saying to their kids, their teenagers, you may not have a smartphone. You don't need one. You may not have an email account. You don't need one. You may not have a Snapchat account. You may not have a Twitter account. You're in school, you're going to learn the grammar, logic, and rhetoric of education, and you're not going to get into this peer world of everyone like, how many likes do you have? Not going there. Not going there. So we'll come back to that, but the data is now coming in. You've heard me say repeatedly on this program that we don't know the impact that these devices are having on humanity, on individuals, families, parent-children relationships, husband-wife relationship. We don't know, but the data is starting to come in. And I'm telling you that these, to watch my words, these evildoers at Facebook, these people who are creating algorithms and doing psychological profiles on people while they don't even know that it's happening, they are the enemies of humanity. So one of my kids said, well, Dad, when you get a new piece of gear for music, you go to YouTube to figure out how to use it. And I said, it's like a library. There was a day when a library had good books. And then when the liberal elite began to take over libraries, you could go into libraries and get very bad books. Books that would corrupt the soul, corrupt the eyes, corrupt the mind, that would attack Christianity, that would attack the notion of absolute truth. So the people in charge of the library were corrupting the library, but you could still go to the library and get a good book, and you would stay away from the bad books. And that was the illustration I gave, like, yes, if I need to learn how to use this piece of gear, I'm going to go watch a tutorial on YouTube. Like I just went to the library, and I'm going to stay away from those elements of YouTube that are designed to corrupt me or you, my children. So, all right, let me take a break. I want to talk a little bit about the Prince of Saudi Arabia. We're going to show you a couple of trailers from our upcoming movie, Muhammad in His Own Words. And I'm going to give you the opportunity to vote. We've been taking votes all weekend about which trailer to use. I'm going to run them both, and then you get to vote. I'll be right back. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. Mohammed bin Salman, who is the Crown Prince, heir apparent to the throne of Saudi Arabia, recently did a lengthy interview with 60 Minutes. And I am telling you that this man is a genius. He is great in front of the camera, and he is a danger. He is a threat. How is that, Randall? Here is how. On one side, he is saying, which is good, that Iran is a threat, that women are not treated fairly and equally in Saudi Arabia. So he was selling himself as a moderate, but he was at the same time still defending Islam itself, Sharia law itself. Now, why would I say, and you would say, well, of course he's doing that, Randall. But that's my point. He wanted to blame the conservatism of Saudi Arabia, I'm not kidding you, on Iran. The revolution in Iran in 1979, which brought the Ayatollah Khomeini to power, he basically said, look, then that inspired the radicals of Islam inside of Saudi Arabia, who demanded the Wahhabi police and the religious police that would approach a woman and arrest a woman if she didn't have her face covered, etc. So, women are finally going to be able to drive in Saudi Arabia. Woo-hoo! Can you convert to Jesus in Saudi Arabia? Can you preach the gospel in Saudi Arabia? Can you build a church in Saudi Arabia? No, no, no. Can you have a beer? No. Can a woman go into public alone and have a hamburger with her boyfriend or a young man or her fiance at a Five Guys restaurant? Hamburger? No. So what he's trying to do, he recognizes, rightly so, that Saudi Arabia is the #1 financier of terrorism in the world through oil money. Okay, #1 financier of terrorism in the world is Saudi Arabia. He knows that. That was part of why they detained those people and are trying to get money back into the coffers. But at the end of the day, he is still defending Islam, which is an inherent threat to the Judeo-Christian freedoms that we enjoy. And I would not be surprised if deep in his heart, he thought maybe he would make a good caliph. If only a figurehead caliph. Don't know that, can't prove it. Maybe I'm 100% wrong. But he's putting his life on the line for even bringing about the changes he's trying to bring about. All right. And the idea of the caliph, the reason I said that is because he accused the Turks of trying to secretly reestablish the caliphate. Because when the caliphate was abolished, it happened, its last seat of power was Turkey. So he's saying that the Turks are trying to reestablish it. All right, I'm going to take this call. No, I'm really not. I'm going to say I can't talk to you right now. I can't talk to you right now. We're going to watch 2 clips. These are 2 trailers, and I want you to vote. I'm going to play them back to back. All right, play the first one.
I have been sent with the sword in my hands, so that only Allah may be worshipped. Allah who placed my livelihood under the shadow of my spear, and who condemns those who disobey my orders to servility and humiliation.
All right, so this trailer that you just saw is announcing our upcoming movie, Muhammad in His Own Words. Now watch very closely to see the differences in the second trailer.
I have been sent with the sword in my hands, so that only Allah may be worshipped. Allah who placed my livelihood under the shadow of my spear, and who condemns those who disobey my orders to servility and humiliation.
There you have it. The plane flying into the building. So we've been polling people all weekend, hearing back from those that are on our email list, which they prefer. If you want to tell me your opinion as to which trailer we should use, go to randallterry.com, and there's a place that says contact us, and comments. Tell me what you think. Send me your comment, and I will be happy to hear from you as to which of those two trailers you think we should use. I'm going to take a quick break. Don't go away. I'll be right back. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, "I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life." Best-selling author Dr. Bill Warner said, "What Would Mohammed Do is the best movie series, TV production on the life of Muhammad and Islamic terrorism that has ever been produced." Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700. That's 304-289-3700, or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. Friend, I appreciate the privilege of doing this program. And the purpose for this show is to try and motivate you to think differently and to behave differently. To provide you with the intellectual armaments, as it were, to wage philosophical war, rhetorical war, to do battle for righteousness and justice, because we are the church militant. If you are a Christian, then you are, by definition, a part of the church militant, not the church triumphant in heaven. So it's to affect the way we think and to affect the way we behave. Maybe God's calling you to run for office. Maybe God's calling you to go to law school or to send one of your kids to law school so that they can work to become a judge. If you look at the 4 governments of God, the 4 governments, human governments that God established in the Garden of Eden, it was self-government, family government, church government, and civil government. Those are the 4, okay? Of the 4, the greatest threat to humanity right now, at least in America, is civil government. The grotesque evils of shedding of innocent blood, so-called homosexual marriage. These are sins that cry to God for judgment. They're pushed upon us by those in civil government. And we're frankly desperate for a revival of righteousness in civil government. And Paul wrote in Romans 13 that the civil magistrate is the servant of God. Did you know that? In fact, it's the same word where we get the word deacon. So some people have a call of God to become a deacon. Some people have the call of God to go into civil government. We're desperate for righteous men and women, or desperate for people to help other people get into civil government. And I hope that you will consider your role in restoring righteousness in the republic. That's why I do this program. All right, I've got to take a farewell. If you want to contact me, I read all the incoming emails, okay? You go to randallterry.com, go to the comment section. I'm going to read it. And you can tell me, you can vote on those two clips that you saw, those two trailers, with the plane or without the plane. I want to know from you what you think we should use. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your prayers. And by the way, if you like the program and you want to support us financially, there's a donate button there as well. Thank you. God bless you.